and welcome to Off the Cuff, a presentation of the Emerging Leaders Society, part of the United Way of Spokane County. My name is Emily Arneson. I'm an ELS board member, and I'm the Ombudsman and Accessibility Officer for Spokane Transit Authority. Today, we're here to talk with Susan Meyer, CEO of STA. Thank you for being here today, Susan.
Thank you for the invitation.
I'm so excited to interview you today. For everyone watching, in addition to being STA CEO, you're also my boss. And
That's
so
right.
I'm very pleased to be the one here interviewing you today. So thank you. Let's start off with our first question. Who do you look up to, and are there other CEOs that you try to emulate?
Do you know, the longer I get into my career, the more interested I am in seeing how other CEOs lead. Because we're down to the fine points now in how people inspire others and how they are seen as getting results without being tough. It's very interesting to watch people. I've always been a observer of people, but even more in the last couple of years. And there are people I have looked up to, and I'll give you the names of two. One of them is Judy Cole, who worked for Avista and has been retired a couple of years. Judy was able to accomplish enormous things, difficult things for the company that involved the community, and she did it always in a very well-prepared, very nice and professional, always cool kind of way. Successful, nice, decisive, thoughtful, all the kinds of things you would want in a project manager, a lead on a really difficult project. And I got to work with her on a number of projects over the years and could not have admired her more. The other is Judy Williams, who is the co-founder and owner of Telect, a telecommunications manufacturing company that I had the privilege to work for. And Judy showed in everything she did how to take care of employees. So she would give a poem that she wrote to employees who had a child. She would also have the child's name embroidered on a blanket. They started employee benefits bigger than their company, than you would expect for their company when they were small. They treated everyone with respect, and that is the best training I had for how to lead people in a way that they know that you care.
Fantastic, thank you. Our next question. A lot of our members in ELS are early to mid-level professionals and have aspirations to keep climbing upwards. So what advice would you have given yourself 20 years ago that might be interesting to them?
Well, 20 years ago, and 30 years ago, I probably could have benefited from someone saying, you can't be like anyone else and you shouldn't try. So take your temperament and your style and the way you process things and make that work in a new position. And so I am naturally decisive and decisive sounding, and sometimes that can go clear into feeling abrupt or one of the things people laugh about is that I am very certain about things until I'm persuaded with other information to do something different. And sometimes being decisive and quick to make decisions can cause people to want to stop giving ideas. And so it is adapting your personality style to everything that you're going to do and not being hard on yourself about how you might be like the last person who did the job or the next person who has another job. It really is a don't be too hard on yourself message, along with work your tail off, do anything that is required, whether it's in your job description or not, and be prepared for scrutiny that you have never seen before. With responsibility comes increasing scrutiny of your intentions and your integrity. It is leadership is in a glass house. People in leadership live in glass houses.
What circumstances have taught you about failure, and how do you approach failure?
Well, I never want to fail. I don't know anybody who actually does want to fail. But success is often preceded by failures because you're trying something different or new or risky. And I had not a career-ending failure, but an event that I wish I could go and have a do-over. So I'm not going to tell you specifically what it was, but I'll tell you that it happened about 6 years ago. And that is a reminder to me that we never get so senior or so experienced that we think we're infallible. And so in the end, because it wasn't a career-threatening experience, I learned a lot from it as a reminder of all the things that were important when you're young in your career and middle in your career in terms of preparation, anticipating what's going to happen, all those things. They are as important today, maybe even more than they were then. So I don't like failure. I don't ever want to fail. But I don't know anybody who succeeded that didn't fail first.
That's an excellent line. I like that. I think that should be the tagline for the interview. I think that's poignant, and that's good for people to hear and be reminded of. It's not always uphill. I guess that's not quite the right thing to say, but yeah, it's not all roses. Sometimes
It is certainly
sometimes you
not.
have to get through the weeds too. Okay. What are the toughest aspects about being a CEO, and what has it taught you?
Well, that's a great question, Emily. Soon after I became the CEO at Spokane Transit, I called my CEO from my last position, and I apologized to him because I was critical as a vice president, quietly critical, sometimes if he didn't return all of my emails, lickety-split, if he didn't have the same energy and enthusiasm for everything I did, and that I really did expect him to know everything and be everywhere all at once. And when I suddenly was in that position, I realized that we are the same human the day we become a CEO as the day before when we weren't. And we have all the same limitations and need to find our focus and then ask for grace. While we give grace to people for what they're doing and their priorities, CEOs need grace too. So what was the question?
It was kind of a compound question. What are the toughest aspects about being a CEO, and then what has it taught you?
Well, I think there are a lot of things that are tough about being a CEO, but those are also the things that are very appealing to someone who wants to be a CEO. And that is, there are tough decisions to make. So analysis and information and an understanding of what's happening in the environment, all of those things are challenges. One of the other things that is tough is the scrutiny that I mentioned, that people want to know that you are who you say you are today and after work and on Saturday, and that your values haven't changed and your honesty and approach hasn't changed. It is a challenge to be a whole person all the time and say what you mean and mean what you say. It is an expectation people have of leadership that is slightly askew. That is, it is not altogether realistic, as I just explained, but the challenges are making hard decisions that there's never an easy answer to. And honestly, that's not a CEO job. That happens to all of us in our family lives, at work, at any level. We're going to have to make decisions that not everyone will understand or agree with. It's part of life, not just being a CEO.
Great. What are your top 3 accomplishments, personally or professionally?
Emily, that is a common interview question. When we have people come in, we want to know those things. And here's how I'm going to answer it. There isn't anything in this life I have accomplished on my own. So I can't give you a list of things. I will say that winning a ballot measure at Spokane Transit, when we did the education, not the actual persuasion, was an accomplishment, but it belonged to all of us and to the elected officials and the employees. I got a master's degree by going to school at night for 5 years while I had an infant and then a young child, and I worked full-time. But my parents helped me, and I had a great boss who helped me. And so I didn't do that by myself either. We won a $53 million grant for the first bus rapid transit project in Spokane. And that was a Herculean effort that I got to be part of, along with our board members and our genius staff who know all the things that are technical about bus rapid transit. So I'm not going to claim any of those things for myself. I'm most grateful that I have a healthy, happy adult daughter. And that in the end is the most important thing in life.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here with us today. We really appreciate you taking time out of your very busy schedule. We know that you have a lot of demands on your time, so thank you for being here with us today.
Well, thank you, Emily, and thank you to the Emerging Leaders Society and to the United Way for this great program of developing people who are on their way to do even bigger and better things.
On their way. I like that. We're on our way. Thank you, Susan.
You're welcome.
The Emerging Leaders Society is a network of philanthropic young professionals supporting Spokane County United Way's vision through networking, volunteering, and professional development.